Hey guys, just a quick message before the video starts. I posted an update video that kind of explains why this video is so late and also has a few extra disclaimers that I'm pretty sure are not in this video. So if you want to know any of that, then go watch that if you don't care. The only thing I want you to know is that this was recorded like 6 months ago, so everything I said it 6 months ago. What can I say? Just know that. That's the context you needed. That's all. Okay, thanks. Bye. In the last part of this iceberg chart video, I mentioned all the new things I had watched because they were in the chart. So I thought I would start this one by doing the same. I watched Half-Life VR, but the AI is self-aware. Hilarious. Sorry to all my friends who told me to watch it, but I dismissed it. You were right. I played Undertale and was surprised how little I knew about the game. I'm currently playing through Deltarune on Thursdays on my Twitch channel. And I think that's it. Not a lot, but something new that I probably wouldn't have done if I wasn't making this video. Not so useless after all. Before I start, a little self-promo. So hey, I have a Patreon. For just $1, you get access to all my sketches, which I don't post anywhere else. Except like weird zoomed in versions on my Instagram stories when I remember. Work in progress, and your name will be in the end credits of my videos. Wow! For a whole $5, you get all that, plus early access to videos like this one. A whole day early most of the time. High quality versions of all my arts. And time lapses so you can see the speed paints without all the stuff on top if you're interested in that. Not a lot, but it's incredibly helpful. I also have a store where you can buy things with my art on it, and another store where you can buy prints. Also, you can just commission me and I'll draw whatever you want. Terms and conditions apply. Just DM me on Twitter or Instagram and I'll send you all you need to know. And yeah, if you want to help this artist who makes silly videos from time to time, consider getting a sticker or something. I will love you forever. That's it for my self-promo. Back to the sexy content. This is a part 3 of a 4-part series on the Tumblr Sexyman Iceberg Explained. I would like to restate some stuff. This is based on the Tumblr Sexyman Iceberg chart by user Silent Chatter on Reddit. I'm gonna be using the Tumblr Sexyman and Tumblr Sexy Women fandom wikis, or the Sexypedias, for this. Some are not in them, so if I get anything wrong or I'm missing information, feel free to correct me or add to it in the comments nicely. I'm only human and I'm trying my best. A few disclaimers. I don't think all of these are sexy men, I'm just following the chart. I don't understand why some of them are in this list, to be honest. There may be some major spoilers, so if you see a character from something you're planning on consuming and don't want spoilers, just to be safe, skip ahead. Oh yeah, and a lot of the characters you would see in this list are canonly minors. I am personally not comfy with the sexification of minors, so I'm just here to document the phenomenon. I don't encourage it. All the lovely fan art you see in this video will be linked in the pinned comment. Another thing before I forget, if there's sexy people you think deserve to be in this chart but aren't, let me know. If there are enough characters, I'll do a bonus video about them. Classes again. Look, I know the classes are confusing to some people, but I like them because it helps me get some easy context. I'm gonna explain them again, okay? Apollyon are once in a generation phenomena. There are only 3 Apollyons that were at the top of the iceberg. The Onceler, Sans, and Spamton. Wait a second, who put Spamton in the classes? Spamton is not an Apollyon. The other Apollyon is Vriska. Stop vandalizing the Sexypedia. Making my silly job harder. Keter are characters whose notoriety escapes the fandom. It can be through memes or just an overwhelming amount of thirstiness. So we have characters like Bill Cipher or Comoeda. Euclid are unmistakable sexy people contained inside their fandom, meaning they're thirsted over inside the fandom, but outside they're just another character. So for example, I don't know, Sonic.exe or Stan Pines. Safe are those that never quite reach widespread sexy person status in their fandom. Maybe because their fan base is small or has too many casual fans. These are like niche sexy people like Kuzma or Vex. Thaumiel are those that could have been a sexy person. Maybe at some point someone joked that they were, but this knowledge made it be averted. So they might be sexified in some places, but overall never quite reached their full potential. Characters like Megamind, for example. Finally, we have the neutralized sexy people, which is a sexy person in another timeline. Basically, they had all the potential to become a sexy person, but for whatever reason, it didn't happen. Maybe they were too obscure or their fanbase had a different taste. A character like Vaggie from Has Been Hotel is a great example of this one, or Gideon Graves from Scott Pilgrim. Those are the classes, so when you're like, hey, that isn't a sexy person, you might technically be right. They might have been neutralized or Thaumiel. Hope that helped. Herbert West, class Euclid. Herbert West is the mad scientist of 80s horror films, more specifically from their reanimator movies. He's a sickly white man and a med school student that tends to antagonize other characters. Herbert created a region that can reanimate the dead. He got kicked out of the first school he went to for reanimating a teacher he was close friends with, which is like, y'all sure that was a good idea? Just saying, he did do something no one else has done. Sounds like someone is trolling. Anyways, afterward he goes to a different med school where he clearly didn't learn his lesson and just went and built a lab in his roommate Dan Kane's basement to continue his experiments. Dan doesn't really care for Herbert until he witnesses the reanimation of a dead cat. They become besties and are the protagonists of the sequel. As a sexy man, well, he's clearly a feral scientist and very intelligent, frequently shipped with bestie Dan obviously. Herbert is also, as I mentioned before, the mad scientist of 80s horror, comparable to Wayne Szalinski from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and Newton Geisler from Pacific Rim. Among his archetypes we have feral scientist / intelligence, knife murder, and John Locke. Gary, class safe. Gary is the deuteragonist from the amazing 2012 indie RPG horror game Eve. He assisted titular character Eve in getting out of the fabricated world, a twister world inside a painting located in the art gallery where the game takes place. We don't find out much about him in-game, however, we do know he's fond of fashion, macaroons, lemon candy, and according to the creator blog, breaking gender boundaries. An icon. Gary is sort of a father figure to Eve. He acts very protective of her, even putting his own life in risk for her. Eve is an amazing game and it's free to play. I recommend it so much if you like horror-ish RPG maker games. I'm actually gonna be replaying it soon on my Twitch stream because a remaster is coming out in 2022 and I want to have it fresh in my mind to see the differences. Anyways, archetypes include gay, father figure, and well-dressed. Frank, class safe. Frank is a playable character from the mobile game Subway Surfers. You can purchase him in-game for 40k game coins. He can also be accessed from a code along with purchases of his figurine from Walmart or Tesco. Am I doing an ad for this? What the fuck? His default outfit is him in a suit, a bunny mask, and carrying a suitcase, but there are other outfits like clown mask or tiger mask. There is a Subway Surfers animated series where Frank is the mysterious antagonist. His design was altered to make his mask and jaw more sharp, his hair more spiky, and a lankier body. His true motives as a character are still unknown. His popularity increased on Tumblr and TikTok due to the animated series. Subway Surfers' official social media embraces fan attention towards Frank. They posted this fan art on their Instagram for Fan Art Friday caption, "We're just gonna leave this here." Their TikTok also posts fan cams or edits of Frank to audios like Court's husband's "E-Girls Are Ruining My Life." For this reason, it's speculated that Frank is a bait sexy man. Or maybe they just saw an opportunity and took it? I don't know. I feel like a lot more companies are finally seeing the potential of essentially free advertising them in social media by embracing fan content. Among his archetypes we have dominating, suit guy, and pale twink. Newton Pud, class Euclid. Newton Pud is the main antagonist of Little Big Planet 3's adventure mode. At the beginning of the game, he transports Sackboy to planet Bunkum, where he explains the story of the Titans, 3 monsters who fed on Bunkum's creativity, almost causing its destruction. They were defeated by heroes and locked in a Titan held by Nana Pud. Newton plans on releasing them in an attempt to harness their creativity and make Bunkum a better place. This backfires and he gets possessed. Possessed Newton is where we really get most of his power as Sexyman and the most amount of fan content. He's not as twinkified as we've seen with other characters, but he's often drawn taller and creepier than he is in canon. Among his many archetypes, we have One-Winged Angel, Angst, and British. Severus Snape, Class Catter. Severus Snape is a major character from the Harry Potter series, portrayed by the late Alan Rickman in the movies. He's considered a proto-Sexyman and is still the subject of much discourse and thirst to this day. Surprisingly, there's no info about him in the Sexypedia, but there is a link to the Snape Wives page in fanlore.org. Snape Wives or Snapists are women in the Harry Potter fandom who believe that they quote-unquote channel Severus Snape or allow his spirits to inhabit their bodies and speak to him, are engaged in romantic relationships with him, and see him as a virtual spiritual guide in their daily lives. They practice Snapeism, a quasi-religion centered on Snape. They also believe that Snape was not just a character, but an omniscient and immortal deity. They also thought Transphore Rowling was channeling Snape when she wrote the book. They were pretty big in the mid-2000s, mainly on LiveJournal. I've actually considered making a video on Snape Wives and Snapeism. Let me know if you're interested in that. I know too much about it, unfortunately. Well, there's not a lot of info in the Sexypedia, but unfortunately, I used to be in this fandom, so I can tell you that most Snape fans are apologists who think that he did nothing wrong and he was just a victim of bullying. There's actually so many fanfics out there with Slytherin Harry being adopted by Snape, and I hate it. I hate it. As someone who used to really enjoy Slytherin Harry, always got ruined by freaking Snape being the parental figure. I'm getting angry. Why am I like this? People also think him saying always after Dumbledore asked him if he's still in love with Lily is like peak romance and make every shitty thing he did through the books go away. Also, they really don't even pay attention one bit to how he's described in the books and portray him as some sort of like goth/emo misunderstood attractive man. This is no shade to Alan Rickman, by the way. Most of the fandom doesn't even look like him. Can you tell I don't like this character? Before I get more heated up, his archetypes include Angst, Dilf, and Unkept Man. Wrong. Wrong is an established character in the Transformer IDW Generation 1 2005 continuity who is a licensed therapist for the Lost Light. Originally, he was a self-insert of author James Roberts, but as the story progressed, he gained his own uniqueness to the plot. Wrong is a willed reason and often non-threatening on account of his cowardice displayed in the comic, which apparently makes him quite the illegible bachelor to all who find him attractive. He's also tall and heavily implied to be British. In an issue of More Than Meets the Eye, he gets an official human depiction, which in the wiki we find with the caption, Steampunk Twink. There's also this one that I found funny because it's captioned, he's rolling. Although he appears to be a common Cybertronian, he's actually an avatar of Primus, the established deity of all Transformers, which also apparently adds to his allure as a Tumblr Sexyman specimen. Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice is the main antagonist in the Beetlejuice franchise. In the films and the musical, he's a very rude, perverted, and chaotic ghost who often invades people's personal space. Despite his malicious nature, he was still used as a force of relative good, as his chaos is largely directed towards the antagonist. The cartoon version of Beetlejuice is more friendly but still gross and is best friend with Lydia Deet. According to the wiki, I'm gonna quote, he's a filthy looking undead white dude that a disproportionately high amount of goth girls will kill to date, and really, isn't that the entire spirit of a Sexyman? Other important sexy people things about him is that the movies directed by Tim Burton where he's played by Michael Keaton, which often shocks people. It shocked me when I found out years ago because I've watched the movie hundreds of times as a kid. It's not a kid's movie, by the way. No wonder I turned out this way. I never noticed he was Batman. In the musical, he apparently breaks the fourth wall a lot with jabs at Broadway culture. Some of his archetypes are angst, technically antagonist, and mysterious. The Jokester, class Euclid. The Jokester is a character from the Moomin series of books by Tove Jansson, which has various animated adaptations. His first appearance is in Moomin Papa's memoirs as a character Moomin Papa befriended and had adventures with in his youth. He later appeared in the 90s anime adaptation of the Moomin series. The Jokester is Nufkin's dad, although apparently not a very responsible or present one. Jokester Sexyman Rep started in 2019 with the new Moomin animated series, Moomin Valley. He hasn't appeared in the series though, but it brought renewed interest in the older series. Apparently, the canon to fanon difference is so drastic that some people who have only seen fan content of him didn't know that he's actually a good guy and not a villainous bastard. In fanon, he's portrayed either edgy, cold, snarky, mean, a fucking freak, or even abusive. Or a combo of those. The Jokester was apparently also the focal point of one fairly well-known internet debacle. This is the infamous Moomin Black Sun AU controversy. This requires a lot of context and it's a lot to explain right now. Like, this could be a whole video on its own. I'll post a Reddit link explaining it in the description in case anyone is interested. Archetypes include father figure, DILF, and unkept man. Baldy, class Catter. Baldy is the titular antagonist of the indie horror game Baldi's Basic in Education and Learning. He is the first character seen in the game, greeting the player and encouraging them to solve math problems to get the notebooks needed to complete the game. When you get a question wrong, which is forced if it doesn't happen naturally, his friendly demeanor is dropped and he becomes an obstacle and threat to the player. This behavior continues until Baldy catches the player or the game is beaten. Although the game is quite popular, his Sexyman status is pretty contained, which is why I'm surprised he's classified as Catter. There's way more popular characters that are not Catter. Anyways, despite him being incredibly unappealing and lacking in personality, he's a sexy man apparently. Baldy's fan and interpretations vary from him being reclusive, to short-tempered, to a completely unhinged maniac. He's also often portrayed extremely slim. He can also be seen in fan art as cute, sexy, or very creepy. Some of his tropes are duality, dominating, and power. Connor RK800, class originally Catter, devoted to Euclid after initial DBH fad ended. Connor RK800, aka Connor Detroit, is a character from the video game Detroit Become Human. He's one of the 3 POV characters. Connor is a prototype police android who was assigned to Hank as a partner as part of a series of tests of effectiveness of his model of police androids in the field. He's played by Brian DeChart, whose performance, apparently combined with the comparative flatness of the rest of the cast, gave him a sizable if somewhat ironic following on Tumblr. Connor's popularity exploded during the years the game was released, but waned quickly after. He still has a dedicated small fan base to this day though. Also, some people think he looks like Human Weekly, the version of Connor in the best possible ending to the game, where he becomes a deviant and joins the rebels, is the one the fandom has adopted as his truest representation. Most fan content characterizes him with sort of a confused innocent, like a somewhat lost oversized child and a small cute bean. It's very popular to ship him with Hank or RK900. There's a large number of fluffy domestic AUs in which RK900 lives with him, and Hank is more of an antagonistic twin brother. Archetypes are grime, glowing neon, and angst amongst others. Girahim, class Euclid. Girahim is one of the main antagonists in The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. He's a demon blade wielded by Demise Ganon. Girahim thinks very highly of himself and flaunts his own appearance, calling himself stunning, exquisite, and pure. He's overconfident and extremely flamboyant in his mannerisms and speaks using exaggerated, nearly theatrical movements and words. He quickly loses his temper as the player continues to thwart his attempts of capturing Zelda and becomes incredibly violent. Girahim is often shipped with Fi, another word spirit. He's headcanon to be extremely horny at all times and overprotective. Also, he has a long tongue and licks things, so as we've established in previous videos, it's just overall something to thirst over. We have archetypes like tongue imagery, non-human, and villain, among others. 2. Class Thomiel. 2 is a character from the web series Battle for Dream Island. 2 is a number-themed alien who travels to Goiki, the setting of BFDI. Upon arrival, they tempted away several of 4's BFB contestants with the promise of unlimited power as a price of Teapot, their own show. I have no idea what I'm talking about. They then teleported 4 and their remaining contestants away to a faraway area called Elsewhere. 2, while more friendly than 4, is rather smug and likes to show off. They're canonically non-binary and use they/them pronouns. While not as popular sexy person as 4, who we will get to in a minute. As soon as 2 was introduced, people instantly began making sexy people jokes, comparing them to the Onceler and saying that they would end up as the fandom's second sexy man alongside 4. The fandom went completely bonkers for them. 2 had hurt 4, the fan favorite, so many people were convinced 2 was evil or abusive in some way, which was reflected in fan content. Many people who originally hated 2 ended up warming up to them after the initial backlash, and adopted them as their comfort character. 2 haters, however, are still incredibly common in the fandom. Their archetypes are British, non-human, and power. 4. Class Safe. 4 is also a character from Battle for Dream Island. 4 is a number-themed alien who traveled to Goiki with their co-host X. Upon arrival, they killed several people, brought them back to life, then proposed the idea of playing a game, kickstarting the battle for BFB. 4 defaults to being very absent-minded and calm. However, they have a hair-trigger tempo that tends to result in them murdering people for insignificant reasons. They're canonically genderless and use they/he pronouns. While in canon, 4 is very ditzy yet short-tempered, with a tendency to attack or even kill anyone who upsets them, in fan content, many people ditched their silly nature and turned them into a much more serious or cruel character. They also tend to be shipped with their co-host X, to the point that the creators of the series have teased this ship a few times. 4X is the most common ship in the fandom, but they are also shipped with Donut and 2. 4 has flat or absent teeth and rounded fingers. When angered, they tend to become sharp teeth and claws. This is heavily exaggerated in fan work, obviously. Their archetypes are monster features, non-human, and power. Jack Skellington, Class Catter. Jack Skellington is the main character of the stop-motion film The Nightmare Before Christmas. He is the Pumpkin King of Halloween Town as well as the patron spirit of Halloween. Despite being adored and almost worshipped by the town, Jack is going through a midlife crisis and feels bored of doing the same thing year after year. He goes wandering in the woods with his ghost dog and comes across a circle of trees with holiday symbols on them. Finding the Christmas door to be the prettiest, he enters Christmas Town and becomes enamored with the holiday. This obsession makes him want to become Santa himself. If you don't know what happens next, then go watch the movie. It's great. The gender classification was put there by me, by the way, because the wiki has what class do you put the Onceler's grandpa in as a class, but I think he's clearly a catter. I honestly think there should be a class for like OG proto-sexy man like Jack, Sherlock, Sephiroth, etc. Anyways, despite being very peppy and shipper, he's a goth and emo icon, and his likeness is seen everywhere at Hot Topic. He is considered the grandfather of all Tumblr sexy men. Many established sexy men share many traits with Jack, which is why he's the grandpappy. Among his archetypes, we have Burton, Feral Scientist, and theme song. Quark. Not 100% sure, but I think it refers to Quark, a character from the TV series Star Trek Deep Space Nine, played by Armin Shimmerman. He's a member of the extraterrestrial race known as the Ferengi, who are stereotypically capitalist and motivated only by profit. Quark often serves as the show's comedy relief. In 2016, Screen Rant rated Quark as the 17th best character in Star Trek overall, highlighting the character as commentary on the human condition. I'm not sure about his status as a sexy man. There does seem to be a lot of fan content around him, including cute aesthetic emoji edits and him being shit with Odo. I would like to add though that he does have those sharp teeth. Professor Membrane, Class Euclid. Professor Membrane is a character from Invader Sim. He's the father of the main characters, Dib and Gas. Membrane, however, is more of a minor character in the TV series. In the movie, Enter the Florpist, he has a larger role. Membrane is a single father and a very successful scientist. Membrane has highly detailed robot arms which can shoot energy beams. He's a genius with a lot of powerful machines at his disposal. His robot arms generated a lot of thirst, apparently. When Enter the Florpist came out in 2019, the fandom blew up and people started thirsting over Science Dad. Some people in the fandom see him as a single dad trying his best, even though that's pretty much not true as he's quite neglectful in canon, leaving his kid with a robot nanny he created. Thirsty fans love making fun of him with the dad bod, or interpretations of his face uncovered by his goggle and collar, where he's of course a very handsome looking man. His archetypes are DILF, feral scientist, power, and uniform. The Phantom of the Opera, Class Euclid. The Phantom of the Opera, real name Eric, is a character originally created by French novelist Gaston Leroux. There are many adaptations, but the relevant for his Sexyman status are the Andrew Lloyd Webber musical in 1986, the 2004 film based on the musical starring Gerard Butler, and Susan Kay's 1990 novel Phantom. Eric is a disfigured musical genius who lives in the cellars of Palais Garnier Opera House in 1881. He falls in love with ballet dancer Christine Day, and over the course of the story gives her singing lessons, threatens the theater managers until they give her the best operatic roles, and harasses Christine's love interest, Raoul. Eric ends up kidnapping Christine and threatening to murder Raoul unless Christine agrees to marry Eric. Christine agrees to his terms and, of her own volition, kisses Eric's disfigured face, which causes him to have a change of heart and he lets her go. So, I personally wouldn't call any of this romantic in any way, but you, I guess. We owe this to Andrew Lloyd Webber though, who puts an emphasis on romance and makes Eric a hypnotic smooth talker in a glitter cape and suit. The 2004 movie added to all of this by casting a conventionally attractive man like Gerard Butler. I did not write that. Creaky, you think Gerard Butler is conventionally attractive? I can't even picture his face. And it heavily downplayed his disfigurement. Eric Christine is by far the most popular ship in the fandom. Fandom with PH. You know, because it's quirky. Other than the musical and the movie, there's also Susan Kay's novel Phantom. This novel is published fanfiction. Although some people don't want to call it that because fanfiction has such a bad reputation in literature. But no, this is fanfiction that took inspiration from Leroux's original story and Webber's musical and is an interpretation of Eric's full life story. In this, however, Christine and Eric end up in an explicitly romantic relationship and have a child together. In the height of his Tumblr popularity around 2010 to 2013, the different phantoms from these adaptations were often interpreted as different characters and were drawn interacting with each other and or with various different Christines and Raouls. Many Phantom Ask RP blogs around the time would specify which version of a fandom they were. Some of his archetypes are angst dominating and phantom splintering. Edward Hyde. I'm guessing this is referring to Mr. Edward Hyde, Dr. Henry Jekyll's alternate personality in the 1886 novel The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. Now before glass scientists and mass and people scream at me, I'll get to it. Let me get OG Mr. Hyde down first. Mr. Hyde is the dark side of Dr. Jekyll, unleashed by using a potion. Over the course of the novel, Jekyll transforms into Hyde in order to keep his good and evil personality separated, only to become addicted to the potion as Hyde slowly overtakes him. In the original novel, he's described as pale and dwarfish and has rough corded hands. Everyone who sees him describes him as ugly but not physically deformed. There are many film adaptations and other media where he has made appearances. A very notable one is the graphic novel The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen by Alan Moore and Kevin O'Neill. Another thing to note about the original novel that most adaptations change is that Hyde is truly an alter ego of Jekyll, who is fully aware of his action and still identified himself as Jekyll. Mr. Hyde is also credited along with other characters like Professor Moriarty and Dorian Gray as having a large role in the creation of the concept of supervillains. And as many of the sexy people are in fact villains, we can see how he basically laid the base for them. Now there's also a big chance this chart is referring to Mr. Hyde from The Glass Scientist. This is an ongoing Gaslamp fantasy webcomic about mad science, magical secrets, and monsters. Much like in the original novel, he's the alter ego of Dr. Henry Jekyll. However, in this comic, he's a fragment of Jekyll's own soul, which the latter separated from himself via the creation and consumption of a formula. Hyde also appears to be the on-again, off-again narrator of the comic itself. He is the manifestation of Henry's inner desires, boisterous, disruptive, vulgar, and has a number of nasty habits that most people in Victorian society would rather keep under wraps if they share them. He also enjoys monologuing his adventures through these habits in the form of prose poetry. The final option we have is Mass M's Jekyll and Hyde, an adventure video game based on the novel. Since the chart labeled it pink for literature, I don't think it's this one, but I thought I'd mention it anyways because it definitely looks like Tumblr Sexyman material in there too. In conclusion, we have 3 versions of Sexyman Edward Hyde, and all of them work as one. If you look through fan art, you will see Mass M's version more prominently, although honestly, it could also be fan art from the musical, because they do look kind of similar. Unfortunately, I can't tell you more about it unless I play the game, and it's 40% off right now. Should I? No, I don't have time for that. The G-Man, Class Thomiel. The G-Man is an enigmatic and mysterious character that appears in nearly every title of the Half-Life series and is kind of the main antagonist. Referred to as a sinister interdimensional bureaucrat, he is known to display peculiar behavior and wield superhuman power. He's an inhuman being, often appears in dim light and has very cryptic voice lines. His identity and motives remain unexplained. The G-Man plays the role of an overseer and eventual employer. He often appears in odd and unreachable places, observing Gordon Freeman and other characters, periodically aiding or hindering them. The G-Man is also really popular in the Garry's Mod community for his numerous humorous poses, exaggerated facial expression, or as a joke in many videos relayed by the You're the Man Now dog community. I would like to warn you that if you Google G-Man Sexyman, you will get porn. Don't make the mistake I did. Anyways, as a sexy man, he has many of the common traits as a mysterious looking businessman that is technically an antagonist. There is quite a lot of fan content out there, unsurprising as Half-Life is very popular. I think a lot of the popularity is due to the memes though, but I must mention that it seems like the most recent look awoke something in people. Some of his tropes include intelligence, guilt, and power. Starscream Class Euclid. Starscream is a Decepticon and freaking antagonist of the Transformers franchise. He's a giant robot who transforms into a fighter jet. What more can you ask for? He has been an extremely popular member of the Transformer franchise since its inception. I haven't been into Transformers since I was a kid, but I do remember him being one of my favorites. His most notable characteristic is his frequent betrayal of his sometimes commander and main villain Megatron. Starscream is incredibly conniving, selfish, generally disloyal, and power-hungry. Despite all of this, he's also often depicted as being extremely stupid and gets frequently clowned on. His 1984's catchphrase has attended to meme status, though his sexy man status has not. Note, it says his catchphrase is in his info box, but there's nothing there. I tried googling, but I'm not 100% sure, so if you know what his 1984 catchphrase is, please let me know. Anyway, Starscream has been a recognizable proto-sexy man since the early fandom names in the Usenet era. This combined with the fact that Transformer reboots every few years means that we keep getting new incarnations of Starscream and fans keep mixing his new traits with his fan and persona. While Starscream isn't canonically gay, he's always been viewed as queer-coded. There are a few popular ships. Apparently there's fanfiction from as far back as the 1990s of him and Megatron that were pretty abusive, playing up the bastard boyfriend angle. Nowadays he's more often shipped with his canon former best friend, Skyfire. The Transformers franchise is huge and complicated, to be honest, and there's so much to this character that I simply don't have time to talk about. I do want to share this picture on the Sexypedia caption, "He's sexy in the right kind of way." Some of his archetypes are non-human, gay/questionable LGBT rep, John Locke, and duality. The Mencio, class safe. The Mencio is the true antagonist of Super Paper Mario. He's one of the 4 main minions of Count Bleck, who he later turns on. Eventually, he steals the Chaos Heart and fuses with Luigi, becoming Super Dimension, the game's true final boss. Dimension is charismatic and charming when interacting with the heroes, but secretly very manipulative and sadistic. People often like to portray Dimension as heartbroken and redeemable by self-inserts. The Sexypedia describes him as the original Jevil by a good decade or more, who only escaped being as popular as Jevil because the game Dimension is from was never anywhere near as popular as Deltarune was. Which is not true. I would say it's not because of how popular the game is, because Super Paper Mario was a very popular game. I would have to say it has more to do with when the game came out. Super Paper Mario came out in 2007 when the internet wasn't even a little bit of what it is today. Also, Deltarune and Paper Mario are drastically different games with very different fandoms. It's a very weird thing to say. Apparently, you can find fanfiction of people shipping their young, attractive teenage girl self-inserts with him in the far corners of the internet, and recently he's been shipped with Jevil, which I mentioned on Jevil's section in whatever video that was. A common fanfiction plot is having Count Bleck as his minions living together in his castle post-game in an Avengers Tower situation, and it being more like a wacky slice of life. Some of his archetypes are Theme Song, Mysterious, and Chaos Lord. Fairy Godmother. Fairy Godmother is the main antagonist in Shrek 2, voiced by Jennifer Saunders. She's loosely based on Cinderella's fairy godmother, the stock character from Sleeping Beauty, and the fortune teller from the original Shrek book by William Steig. She seeks to get the best for herself and her son Prince Charming, rather than others, often resorting to blackmail and trickery with her magic. I don't know much about her as a sexy woman, but apparently she's widely regarded as a MILF. She's a villain with an epic theme song, and I guess that's all we need. There's also a ton of fan art of her, and people seem to ship her with Queen Lillian. Father, class safe. Father is the main antagonist of the Cartoon Network show Kids Next Door. He's the arch enemy of the K&D and the father of the delightful children from Down the Lane, fellow enemies of the K&D. I just realized I think I've never watched this show in English. Anyways, Father's ultimate goal is to destroy the K&D and have adults freely rule the world. As is with other powerful villains, some we've seen in this chart, Father doesn't make too many appearances in this show and usually hires or sends other villains to try to defeat the K&D. He's considered to be the show's strongest opponent due to his dedication and methods to destroy the organization. For example, he once attempted to cook children into his own children's birthday cake. You know, like a good old wholesome children's cartoon character does. Despite being impatient and angry, Father is shown to have both a humorous and sensitive side. More importantly, he is single, folks. Yeah, I know y'all were waiting to hear that. Archetypes include well-dressed, eldritch, and white amongst others. Snatcher, class Euclid. The Snatcher is the primary antagonist from the indie platformer A Hat in Time. He's a ghostly figure who rules over the Subcorn Forest. The Snatcher is introduced when Hat Kid trips one of his many traps, prompting him to steal her soul and then force her to sign a contract to do the job he asked her in order to get her soul back. While initially just an antagonist of the third area in the game, his fun personality and tragic backstory gave him enough popularity to get a DLC based after him, which firmly cemented him as a Tumblr Sexyman. There's tons of fan art of this character, and yes, some of it is humanized. Some of his archetypes are more canon/fanon divergence, mysterious, and angst. Cassandra. Cassandra is a major character in the Tangled franchise. She is the deuteragonist of the Disney Channel film Tangled Before Ever After, and the tritagonist of the follow-up series Tangled the Series. She's the biological daughter of Mother Gothel, who was abandoned as a child when Gothel kidnapped Princess Rapunzel and hid away from the world. She was taken in by the captains of the guards there after raising Corona as a handmaiden. Upon Rapunzel's return to the kingdom, Cassandra was enlisted as a princess lady-in-waiting. Despite being polar opposite and occasional rivals, Cassandra and Rapunzel developed a close friendship, one that would inspire Cassandra to pursue a bright future despite her troubled backgrounds. Cassandra is described as being tough as nails, a fitting description for someone who wishes to join the royal guard. She's snarky, sarcastic, and has a somewhat dry sense of humor. She's also very intelligent, often subtly insulting Eugene in clever ways that go over his head. Despite this, she's extremely supportive and protective towards Rapunzel, so much so that she openly holds animosity for Eugene, believing him to be a selfish freeloader and undeserving of Rapunzel's love and friendship. In the series, however, their relationship gradually becomes less hostile and slightly more playful as the two spend time together. Aside from her no-nonsense persona, Cassandra is also a free spirit, not unlike Rapunzel. Though she has a more cynical way of going about life, she also finds joy in adventure, living life to the fullest and experiencing new things. As discussed in the previous video, Tangled used to be a hugely popular show on Tumblr back in the day, and this new Rapunzel/Tangled content really brought back the fandom. There's tons of Cassandra content out there. She seems like a very popular character with tons of fanfiction, fanart, and dedicated blogs about her. She seems to be headcanon as a lesbian by some and is often shipped with Rapunzel, or even with both Rapunzel and Eugene as an OT3. Sora Salazar. Sora is a major character in Epithet Erased, a cartoon series. She's an inscribed cowgirl-themed bounty hunter and Bliss Ocean officer who originally was sent to hunt down Ramsay Murdoch for forgery and embezzlement before she would be in order to receive the Arsene amulet from Giovanni Potage. Sora enjoys her job as a bounty hunter and seems to be quite confident in her own skills. She's hyper-fixated in dueling and can easily beat anyone who she deems an obstacle. She's incredibly malicious and selfish when it comes to achieving her goals. Although a proficient epithet wielder, she actually hates her own epithets because as a thrill seeker, she sees it as a killjoy for being too overpowered. She also despises epithets in general because she sympathizes with Mundis who were skilled or constantly living in the shadows of inscribed epithet users. There seems to be a lot of memes and fan content in general, with fan art that stays mostly true to canon. Also, people seem to like her for being tall and a garbage cowgirl. On my words. Dr. Clef, Class Euclid. Dr. Alto Clef is a member of the senior research staff of the fictional SCP Foundation. He is the author, avatar of SCPWiki.com user Dr. Clef. Due to the nature of the SCP Wiki, there is no canon for Clef or any other recurring characters, and his characterization tends to vary based on author. However, he is widely considered to be extremely powerful, a type green or reality bender, and is known for his morally questionable choices, both in service of his employer and against its wishes. His sexuality is depicted differently depending on the author. Sometimes he is depicted as asexual, he potentially had a child with a nature goddess and or another reality bender, and has been depicted as being in a relationship with fellow researcher Dr. Benjamin Kondraki. Despite his frequent canon descriptions as ugly, he's often drawn as much prettier, younger, and thinner than he is. Any drawing of him with monstrous features like 3 eyes, sharp teeth, etc. are arguably canon. His personal file describes him as having 3 eyes, 1 blue, 1 green, and 1 hazel, and a grin like the Cheshire Cat. Like most other SCP Foundation researchers, he's a feral scientist. Dr. Clef is commonly shipped with Dr. Kondraki, and the two have been depicted as dating in tales written by a variety of authors. This is more prevalent in the ship in a bottle canon, in which is a requirement for Clef and Kondraki to be dating or have dated previously for articles written to be included in the canon. It is stated that it doesn't need to be super explicit, it's just a thing. Some of his archetypes are eye imagery, wide, and all-powerful. Monster. Class Safe/Neutralized. Monster is a character from the video game Friday Night Funkin'. He is the secondary opponent of both Week 2 and Week 5. Originally, Monster could only be fought by accessing his file in the debug menu. The level was scrapped due to the game programmer NinjaMuffin99 having a hard time mapping the song. However, a Reddit user mapped the song for him, so it was added to the level. Arguably, Monster being a hidden character is what helped him become so popular, especially in the early days of the fandom. A common misconception surrounding Monster, one that might have helped popularize him, is that he was a reference to famous internet personality Neil Cicierega, aka Lemon Demon. Not only does his song sound like a Lemon Demon song, but he's quite literally a lemon demon. Not only that, but Friday Night Funkin' is a celebration to newborns culture, while Neil Cicierega gained immense popularity. This theory was debunked by NinjaMuffin99 on Reddit though. Monster has gained a following for his unique design and unknown origin/motives. However, he has yet to become a notable sexy man, likely due to the popularity of other characters such as Senpai, Techman, and Mommy Dearest. Monster is frequently shipped with Senpai, who is a character that has an equally mysterious past. He's often depicted as a skinny white guy, often appearing sickly. Some humanizations depict him as Neil Cicierega in a costume. His archetypes are mysterious, distinct voice, and eye imagery, among others. David. David is a deuteragonist of the web series Camp Camp, and one of the two counselors working at Camp Campbell. He's a cheerful, happy-go-lucky guy who would just do about anything to show people the bright side of camping. David is shown to be upbeat and enthusiastic to a nearly obsessive degree when it comes to the camp. It is heavily implied that he has depression and has shown signs of anxiety. He constantly tries desperately to put a positive spin on any situation he can. There's a lot of fan content of David out there, like fan art, X-Reader fanfiction, and dedicated Tumblr blogs. I do want to add that I find it strange that David is in this chart and not Daniel. Daniel is way more sexy person material and even has his own page on the Sexypedia, unlike David. Neon J, Class Safe. Neon J is an antagonist in the dog EDM-centric video game No Straight Roads. He's a cyborg with the personality of both a war veteran and a pop star. Neon J is the 40-year-old creator and manager of the game's folk K-pop Bravo band. Is it 1010 or 1010? I have no idea. Having once fought in an in-universe war known as the Border War, he enjoys recalling his previous war stories. Before this, he was known for making impressive toy statues and owning a toy shop. He treats music and performance as tactics of war. Neon Jade often gets confused when people don't understand his unique point of view. Despite his overly dramatic personality, he's very protective of the band, treating them much like a father would treat his own children. Technically an antagonist, he's only following orders of the in-game record label SRT to keep the band's career relevant. He's often shared with DJ Subatomic Supernova, despite the only interaction in-game is them standing next to each other. While he is humanized and is drawn in his natural skinny form, the fan makes sure his human design increases his dilfhood. Whatever that means. Sexy man archetypes include angst, distinctive voice, and intelligence, amongst others. Orochimaru, Class Euclid. Orochimaru is one of Konoha's legendary Sannin and one of the main antagonists of Naruto. He's mostly known for seeking immortality, tormenting Sasuke, and being a bastard snake man. He was a member of the Katsuki, an elite criminal organization that existed outside the hidden villages. He desired immortality, and so he performed unethical experiments on prisoners, including fellow shinobi that he kidnapped. Orochimaru discovered how to take over other people's bodies, giving him a constantly changing appearance, so he just body hops to a new vessel whenever the other one becomes useless. Orochimaru's gender has been questioned by fans due to the various different bodies of different genders that he uses as vessels. In Boruto, he states the following: "There have been times when I was a man and times a woman. Outside appearances don't matter. The will to uncover all truth, that is the core of my being." Which I guess means he's non-binary, but this just seems like a runabout way of saying it. Among his archetypes we have power, animal theming, and Dilf. Sasha 9, Class Thomiel. Sasha 9 is a character from the video game Psychonauts. He's a famous Psychonaut secret agent. He helps at Whisper Rock Psychic Summer Camp, a summer camp that specializes in helping young psychics. Sasha is mostly staying in his secret lab running underground tests of questionable status, as most of the other campers seem to have negative and/or traumatic experiences with Sasha. Due to the amount of attention Psychonauts received during 2012 to present, the fandom gained more fans over the years and Sasha became a favorite amongst them. His popularity only increased after Psychonauts 2 released. Some of his archetypes are well-dressed, father figure, and mad scientist. King Boo, class safe. King Boo is the main antagonist of the Luigi's Mansion games, but also has several cameos in more mainstream Super Mario franchise games. We're focused on his appearance on Luigi's Mansion though. King Boo belongs to the Boo species in Super Mario Bros. And Luigi's Mansion's universe. In the first Luigi's Mansion game, he has an entire army of Boos at his disposal. In the first two games, his motivation seems to be rather simple: capture Luigi and his brother by trapping them in magical paintings forever. In Luigi's Mansion 3, he enlists the help of Goose Helen Gravely and successfully captures Mario, Peach, and some Toads at the start of the game. A phenomenon most commonly in the early to mid-2010s, King Boo received his own white Twinkie manifestation. Despite his body being a large round orb, he was, for reasons we know, depicted as slim, pale white boy by a huge amount of fans. More modern iterations have stayed away from this depiction with a lot more diverse designs. He also has a long purple tongue and purple eyes. Purple makes you sexy. His archetypes include intelligent, capitalist, and dominating. Charles Calvin, class Euclid. Charles Calvin, aka Charlie, is the deuteragonist of the Henry Stickmin series. A bold action man, he's a veteran helicopter pilot who works for the government and is one of the youngest and most experienced pilots. Although he's an experienced pilot, Charles has a history of hilariously failing to assist Henry. His page on the Sexypedia is gone, but I did find it thanks to the Wayback Machine. It is not clear in the original design, but many finds portray him as a skinny white twink who is commonly shipped with Henry. Although the Henry Stickmin series is popular mostly due to YouTubers, Charles isn't quite as well known as a sexy man. Some of his archetypes are Theme Song, Fourth Wall Blurred, and Power of Love. Michael Myers, class Catter. Michael Myers is the primary antagonist in the Halloween movie series. Michael was brought to infamy when he killed his older sister Judith at the age of 6. After 50 years of being admitted into Smith Grove Sanitarium, he escaped by destroying his room, also freeing other mental patients in the process. He stole a car and returned to his hometown of Haddonfield, where he would seek revenge against his family. In the movie, he is referred to as both the Shape and the Boogeyman. He's also been in the game Day by Daylight as the Shape. Michael is inhumanly strong, having been stabbed and shot several times, and yet still keeps standing. Supposedly due to trauma, he's a selective mute. His archetypes are villain, eldritch, urban legend aesthetic, power, and angst. Jason Voorhees. Jason is the main antagonist of the Friday the 13th franchise. He's an almost completely silent, undead, and seemingly unstoppable killing machine. Jason haunted Camp Crystal Lake and the surrounding area, driven to slaughter anyone he encounters by a burning need to avenge his beloved mother, Pamela Voorhees. At this point, is it surprising Jason is a sexy man? He's a big, beefy man and people are very thirsty over him till this day. I'm surprised he's not in the Sexypedia. There's a huge amount of NSFW fan content of him online, but there's also a lot of cute Jason content. He's also often shipped with fellow slasher sexy man Mike Myers. Monkeykin, class Euclid. Monkey King is a recurring character in the animated series Lego Monkey Kid. He's a legendary monkey who in the past once trapped the Demon Bull King inside a mountain. Centuries later, he took a liking towards the series' protagonist who will become his successor. Despite his laziness, he takes his time to train Monkey Kid. I want to quote the Sexypedia on this, it's just so funny. When I say people look at him and went awooga, I don't just mean awooga. They got down on all fours and bark. I'm not kidding. Yes, he might be a Lego, but that stops no one. Most people need to touch some grass. Some people think he's Sexy Man Bait though cause he's referred to as the handsome Monkey King. People chip him with his once friend's macaque. Many people focus on how irritating and lazy he can be since there are other versions of him out there that act similar. Fans also like exploring his fatherly side in different content they make. Among his archetypes we have urban legend aesthetic, quotable catchphrases, and bait. Raymond Boxman, Class Euclid. Raymond is a minor antagonist in OKKO Let's Be Heroes. He's a robot designed by Lord Boxman to attack Lakewood Plaza Turbo, a job he carries out with flamboyance and to an extent elegance. Raymond is strong and has multiple built-in weapons. In his debut episode, Sibling Regularly, there's an emphasis on how he can actually beat Enid, Rat, and Chaos in his first battle with them, something his siblings have never succeeded in before. After their dance battle in the episode Plaza Prom, Raven and Radicals became a popular ship. Raven is considered queer-coded, but he doesn't properly fall into the queer-coded villain archetype. There are heroes in the series who are canonically LGBTQ+, so the show was definitely not trying to send a message that being LGBTQ+ is bad or to queerbait. His archetypes are dominated, ensemble dark horse, and distinctive voice. Revenant, Class Safe/Euclid. Revenant is a playable character in Apex Legends. He's a simulacrum, a dead human whose sentience has been implanted into a robot body. The Apex fandom as a whole does not obsess over him, but there's a vocal minority who find him extremely sexy. Revenant was formerly a headman before dying and being turned into a killing machine by Hammond Robotics. He goes through most of his life as a simulacrum, still believing he's a human, but his programming one day failed and he realized he has become a robot. He has died countless times before being put into a new body, and he can remember the pain from each time. He's the closest thing Apex Legends has to a villain, since he was sworn to kill everyone Lobo loves, which includes several of the main characters in Apex. He's essentially a mass murderer who cannot be stopped or killed. Some of his archetypes are villain, eye imagery, and power. Anti-Cosmo, Class Save ? Anti-Cosmo is a recurring villain in the show The Fairly Odd Parents. He is the anti-fairy equivalent of Cosmo, and he's opposite in every way. Anti-fairies are the shadows of fairy, with every fairy having an anti-fairy to match. Anti-fairies sort of personify bad luck, and they have a collective goal to cause misery and suffering for humanity. Whereas Cosmo is kind-hearted but stupid, Anti-Cosmo is your typical cartoon evil genius. He has a British accent that differentiates his voice from Cosmo's. His eye stands out since it's the only part of his design that is in dark blue, being instead a bright green color. Some of his archetypes are non-human, eye imagery, and Chaos Lord. Jack Walton, Class Euclid. Jack Walton is a major character from the analog horror web series The Walton Files, created by Martin Walls. The tapes and the series are named after him. He is described as tall with dark hair and eyes. He was married to Rosemary Walton and has 3 kids, Sophie, Ed, and Molly. Jack was a co-founder of Bond's Burger, a restaurant situated in Michigan, with his best friend and fellow co-founder Phyllis Kranken, who took over the restaurant after his disappearance on the 11th of June. If you haven't watched The Walton Files, I can't recommend it enough. It's like my favorite series I've watched this year. I'm not gonna go into any spoilers this time because I really would rather people go watch for this one, if you haven't already. Warning, it's horror, it can get very disturbing, so watch only if you're into that. Fan art often depicts Jack with flowing red eyes accompanied with a white green. People often ship him with his friend Felix Kranken, even though he's married to Rosemary. Martin Walls doesn't seem to have a problem with this though. Some of his archetypes are Mark Cannon, Fan and Divergence, Distinctive Voice, and Dilf. Roger Baxter. Roger is a character from the 2021 TV series Littlest Pet Shop. He's Blythe's father and airline pilot, meaning he is often away from home. Roger is a bit of a klutz when it comes to being a handyman, but is a superstar when it comes to being Blythe's father. He's also one of the only 2 people to be aware of Blythe's secret ability to talk to animals. He's funny and fun-loving. Though a fine pilot, he's ironically a terrible driver. Roger is shown to be somewhat clumsy and accident-prone. He's a bit behind the times, but often tries to be cool. He's very caring towards Blythe and tries to be understanding, even though he often embarrasses her. I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea why this character is considered a sexy man. I can't find a lot of kind content of him either, but it seems some people ship him with Fisher Biscuit, I guess. Randall Boggs, Class Euclid. Randall Boggs is an antagonist of the Pixar film Monster Inc. and Monsters University. He's the second greatest top scarer of the titular company, the rival Sully, and the other antagonist next to Mr. Watereaves. In Monster University, it's revealed he was the roommate and former friend of Mike Wazowski. He's a purple and blue lizard-like creature who can also turn invisible and is voiced by none other than Steve Buscemi. If you look up fan art, you will find humanized versions of Random as a humanized nerdy white twink. Some of his archetypes are non-human, purple, and quotable catchphrases. Enchantress. Honestly, I have no idea who this is referring to. It's marked pink for literature, but I can't find any character with the name that was popular in Tumblr. My conclusion is that it's referring to either Amora or June Moon, so let's talk briefly about them. Marvel's Enchantress refers to two characters, Amora, a powerful sorceress and one of the Thor's greatest enemies, and Sylvie Lushton, who was given great mystic powers by Loki and modeled herself after Amora. We talked about Sylvie from the Disney Plus series Loki before, and she was inspired partially by Enchantress, so we're focusing on Amora for now. Amora is a powerful sorceress, famous for her beauty and infamous for her heartless scheming. She has devoted her immortal life to the pursuit of power and pleasure, using sorcery and sexuality as her tools. Amora is famous for her aristocratic behavior. She lives a luxurious life, owning several mansions throughout the 9 realms and even endowing herself with the power to make gold and diamonds with her tears. Amora has a habit of seducing men. She is known for her cruelty with men, making them feel important and loved while using them. DC's Enchantress is June Moon, an archaeologist who was possessed by an ancient and incredibly powerful mystical being named Enchantress. June appears to be a sweet and kind woman, intelligent and interested in ancient cultures. She makes a mistake when opening the vial that contains the benevolent spirit of Enchantress, becoming host to the evil interdimensional entity. June lived in fear of Enchantress taking her over. However, it appears the witch couldn't keep control of her for long periods of time. She was played by Cara Delevingne in the Suicide Squad movie. If you ask me, Amora seems to be more of a sexy woman than June, but there's more fan content of June. I honestly don't know who this is referring to, might actually be someone completely different. Trent Lane. Trent is a character in the animated TV show Daria. He is the second youngest child of the Lane family and an aspiring musician in the band Mystic Spiral. Trent's behavior is quite laid back. He speaks in a soft voice. Trent never wears a watch and he's always late, so watches depress him. Despite his laziness, he cares about and loves his little sister Jane and often wishes to help her in any way. He takes weird things in stride, like being bad with physical holidays or strangers in his house. Trent is also the most stable member of the band and puts up with their arguments and bickering. He usually hangs out with fellow bandmate Jesse. Once again, I can't tell you exactly why he's considered a sexy man. There does seem to be some fanfiction and fan art of him, but not a lot compared to other characters in this chart. Roberto, class neutralized. Roberto is a recurring character from the cartoon series Futurama. He debuted in Futurama's 3rd season as a knife-wielding bank robber robot. Roberto claims he was the failed result of engineers trying to build an insane robot. He is incredibly unstable and has a habit to stamp people while making a distinctive Apparently, he seems to have a penchant for eating human skin. Roberto never gained traction as a sexy man due to his obscurity, but the proper traits are present. Arguably, plenty of Futurama characters are neutralized sexy men, but Roberto probably embodies the most sexy man spirit. I would say it's not obscurity. Futurama is an older show and then didn't have that kind of fan base. I would argue that things would be different if it had either a different art style or was a more recent show. I was a huge Futurama fan growing up, but my viewing experience was different from how I watched other shows. I was never left wanting more from it or its characters to the point where I would draw fan art or look for fan fiction. His archetypes are non-human, antagonist, knife birder, twisted freaking psychopath, and distinctive voice. Baron Humpert von Geekingen, class safe. The page for this character was apparently deleted within the last 24 hours of me writing this, which sucks. The only info I can gather is the class and that one of the archetypes with inks. But let's not let that stop us. Baron Humbert, also known as the Baron, is a character from the 1995 film Whisper of the Heart and the titled antagonist of the 2002 film The Cat Returns. He is a living statue of an anthropomorphic cat who is fully dressed, including a top hat and shoes. At night, he comes to life. He belongs to the antique shop owner Shiro Nishi. He's a cat in a suit, so like a sexy man for sure. There's tons of both cat and human fan art of the character out there, but there's not much more I can tell you about it since the page got deleted. Crow, class safe. Crow is the villain protagonist of the Nefarious series. He's introduced as your typical Saturday morning-esque villain in a cycle of content schemes that are always thwarted. This changes at the start of the game, as Mac, the hero who usually defeats Crow, has stopped taking him seriously and leaves him to his own devices to deal with the real crimes. This sudden change in status quo is all Crow needs to start taking his plan further, kidnapping princesses of other kingdoms and nearly taking over the world. The fandom itself is small, but the character is pretty recognizable outside of the fandom, and with that comes the inevitable attraction. Some of his archetypes include Theme Song, Purple, and Peltwig. Handsome Jack, class Euclid. Handsome Jack is the main antagonist of Borderlands 2 and the antagonist of Borderlands the pre-sequel. An AI version of him also serves as the main antagonist in Tales from the Borderlands. Handsome Jack is the CEO of the Hyperion Corporation, having murdered the old CEO and taken his job. He's the self-proclaimed dictator of Pandora, starting wars under the guise of peacekeeping and manipulating Vault Hunters into opening vaults for his own gain. He's frequently shipped with Riz, who acts as his unwilling host in Tales from the Borderlands. They are the most popular pairing because according to the wiki, they're skinny white men and Riz is a twink. Among his archetypes, we have villain, capitalist, and twisted freaking psychopath. Count Bleck, class neutralized. Count Bleck, also known by his real name, Lord Blumiere, is an evil count and the central antagonist of Super Paper Mario. He's a unique villain in the Mario franchise and his motives are mostly based on sadness. His actions are born from love and how he handles the loss of it. Regardless, Bleck first seems to be a basic villain with no feelings who wishes to end all worlds due to the power given by Dark Chronosticus. As the story progresses, these sympathetic traits are revealed and reason are given to his actions. He has all the trappings of a potential sexy man, but according to the wiki, due to Super Mario never reaching any popularity, he never achieved his sexy potential, which I don't agree with. Just because a certain character didn't become a sexy man doesn't mean the franchise wasn't popular. Sure, Paper Mario isn't as popular as more mainstream Mario games, but it's still a fairly well-known game by any Nintendo fan. I just hate seeing popularity measured in how widespread certain characters were as sexy people. It's ridiculous. There's still a handful of people that have made Super Paper Mario fan content. According to the Sexypedia, Count Bleck is walking evidence that an essential component of the sexy man phenomenon is shippability potential, and a character having a well-defined canon opposite gender relationship already vastly cripples their chances of attaining the same levels of popularity. I also don't agree with this. While I do agree that shippability is a big component in what makes a Tumblr sexy person, we have seen many examples of characters having canon non-pure relationships and the fandom completely disregarding it. I just talked about Jack Walton, who is married, but people still chip him with his best friend because people don't care about that. Like, they don't care about what is canon, okay? I think countless times that has been proven. Some of his archetypes are power, purple, and well-dressed. Volter, class Euclid. Volter is the main antagonist in the Season 3 of Winx Club. He's an evil wizard who was born from a corrupted spark of the dragon's flame. After his attack on Domino, he was sent to the prison in Omega Dimension, but later was released by a Trix trio. Volter gained an extremely large fan base back in 2012. In 2019, he came back for Season 8 with an art style change which got heavily criticized by fans. What can I say? He can turn into a demon-like creature. Apparently, he's gay-coded, and he has purple eyeshadow. Oh, and apparently the most popular non-canon pairing in Winx Club is Volter Bloom. So yeah. Some of his archetypes are John Locke, questionable LGBT representation, and Eldridge. The Thin Man, class Euclid. The Thin Man is the main antagonist of Little Nightmares 2. Wait, isn't the Thin Man Supernatural's version of Slender Man? Yup, wow, was that a disappointing episode. Actually, I really want to play this game, so I'm gonna have someone else research and write this part so I don't get spoiled in case there are spoilers in the Sexypedia page. So this will be a no spoiler part. The Thin Man doesn't speak and more so shows his personality through actions. He approaches Mono and Six, the main characters of the game, calmly and collectively while remaining hostile. Although he's pursuing both protagonists, the Thin Man seems more interested in Mono, a little boy with a paper bag over his head. A few general Sexy Man things. It's implied the theme of his character is consumerism and television. He's dressed like he's from the 1940s with a great blue suit and fedora. The Thin Man can teleport everywhere using TVs. Apparently he's shipped almost exclusively with the lady from the first game, even though they never interact. In the end, there's not much known about the Thin Man. A few of his archetypes are Power, Retro, and John Locked. I can't believe we're here, but Jose Carioca, Glass Safe. Jose Carioca is a Brazilian parrot who first appeared in the 1942 Disney film Saludos Amigos. His most notable appearance is in The Three Caballeros. Se is modeled after the malandro archetype in Brazilian culture. While the main trio is very beloved within the fandom, many people like him more over his sexy man traits. Canonly, Se has a few sexy man traits like he's a simple dark horse, he's well dressed, has magical abilities, and Have You Been to Bahia is like his theme song. Also, many people regard The Three Caballeros as Disney's gayest film, which honestly, it's not that hard a title to get. There's also some more fan traits to his character since, as the Sexypedia puts it, many people want to fuck him more over Donald or Panchito. Se is often humanized as a pale skinny man, but there's also other humanizations that give him darker skin and make him chubby or fat. Three Caballeros is heavily queer-coded, with even having an instance of bisexual lighting, and he canonically has a love interest in the comic. That said, fandom ships him with either Donald Duck, Panchito, or both. He's shipped with Donald Duck because Jose Carioca basically simps for him, and Donald Duck accidentally kisses him once. Se has also been shipped with himself, well, more so an alternate version of himself based on the design in the Brazilian comics, where he's usually portrayed with blue eyes and more mother clothing. Some of his archetypes are duality, non-human, and intelligence. Wilt, Class Euclid. Wilt is a character from the animated Cartoon Network show Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. In this show's universe, imaginary friends are living beings created by kids imagine them into existence, which means once the kids grow out of them, they need somewhere to go. That's where the title Foster's Home comes in. It's a place where all these imaginary friends can go once abandoned or separated from their creators, and people can come and adopt them. Very sad yet wholesome. Wilt is one of these imaginary friends. He was created to be a mentor figure to a kid who really loved basketball. He's incredibly nice and friendly, but also a pushover who gets frequently taken advantage of by the other characters. So in the mid-2000s, there were old school message board forums, which is how most of us share our nerdy interests back then. Foster Home for Imaginary Friends had its own forum, fosterhome.com. There's a particular thread in this forum specifically dedicated to people being attracted to Wilt. Okay, but now get this. Lauren Faust, co-creator of Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, made an account on said forum just to tell people to stop being weird. Which is ironic considering that a big part of her show, or at least how I saw it as a wee teenager, was about embracing being weird. Was that just me? I guess being thirsty for a wonky character was just too much for her. Well, I guess what most people found attractive about him anyways was his voice. Amongst his archetypes we have non-human, quotable catchphrases, and father figure. Rad God, Class Euclid. Rad God is the main antagonist of the video game Mad Rad Dad. Rad God is portrayed as a benevolent and supportive being who aids Mad Rad in reliving his last days as well as fulfilling his final wish to kill the human who experimented on him. Rad God's intentions are revealed to be much darker though, wishing instead to get Mad Rad killed for her own personal gain. Rad God is quite popular in the Mad Rad Dad fandom for both her appearance and personality. Some of her archetypes are One-Winged Angel, All-Powerful, and Anthro. Benatar. Benatar is the guitarist, pianist, and guitarist from Your Favorite Martian and a supporting character in Your Favorite Martian the series. He is seen with blonde hair and a blue suit with a red tie and is the only British member of the group. Benatar is quiet as he rarely speaks in the series and is polite. He falls in love easily and cares about his friends a lot. He can be a bit of an airhead though. Although quiet, he's very passionate. There seems to be quite a bit of fan content for this character, including a Tumblr ask blog. Lucas Baker, class safe. Lucas Baker is one of the main antagonists in Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. Lucas was a resident of the abandoned Baker Ranch in Louisiana. Except it's not really abandoned, it's the home of the zombified Baker family and the Molded. The main character, Ethan, is there to save his wife, who is also infected. Lucas is the most violent of the family. While his parents, Jack and Marguerite, are just trying to kill Ethan, Lucas is pretending to be Jigsaw and putting Ethan through torture chambers and puzzles. According to the Sexypedia, prior to the release of Resident Evil 7, there was a dry spell in AAA horror games. Fictional serial killers always attract thirsty fans, and there hadn't been any for around 1.5 years, so Lucas, being the only young white man the player sees for most of the game, kinda caught that attention. His archetypes are knife murderer dominated and white amongst others. I don't know why he's so low, bud. Meta Knight, class Euclid. Meta Knight is one of the main recurring characters in the Kirby franchise. Meta Knight first appears in the NES game Kirby's Adventure and has continued being a staple in the game and even in the anime adaptation. While he's mostly a boss, there are a few games where he's a playable character, including the Super Smash Bros. Game. He's a skilled swordsman who follows a strict code. An example of this is how he always offers Kirby a sword before fighting him. In more recent games, he's more of an ally than an enemy. His popularity heightened after the release of the anime adaptation, where he's a mysterious kind of mentor figure to Kirby. I'm gonna be honest guys, I had a huge crush on anime Meta Knight as a kid. I love him so much. I'm sure if you find my old child drawing notebooks, you will see a few shitty drawings of him there. Being a mysterious and honorable knight, he has had a ton of sexy man renditions through the years, to the point where he can be considered a proto-sexy man. Googling Meta Knight Giyinka will bring you tons of results of white twink Meta Knight, although nowadays, Kirby humanizations are more diverse than they used to be. Amongst his many archetypes, we have mysterious, intelligent, and long-caped. Continuing with the Kirby franchise, we have Marx, class Euclid. Marx is an antagonist and supporting character from the Kirby franchise and a boss in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. In canon, there's not a lot of depth to him other than Kirby Superstar, where he asks Kirby for a favor then betrays him. In non-canon official material though, he's often depicted as a trickster who derives joy out of making everyone else's day just a little bit more inconvenient. In the manga series, his motives are more clear. Marx is trying to prove himself as the strongest warrior in the galaxy, proudly announcing such rather than mischievously hiding his intentions. Marx is one of the most notable sexy men in the Kirby fandom, often characterized to be unpredictable and out of his mind, with no true goal other than taking over Dreamland. There is a lot of fan-made human designs of him that usually depict him as a skinny white twink dressed like a jester. Some of his sexy man tropes are Purple Clown and One-Winged Angel. Magolor, class Euclid. Magolor is a major supporting character from Kirby's Return to Dreamland and other Kirby games. He begs Kirby, Meta Knight, and King Dedede to help him rebuild his ship after it crashes into planet Popstar. After helping him with this and defeating Londia, his true intentions are revealed. Magolor steals the Master Crown and gains godlike dark powers. He was simply using Kirby and company to gain these powers and rule the universe. Magolor returns in subsequent games, reformed and becomes an ally to Kirby, although some of his motives and actions are still questionable. He comes off as very polite, helpful, and friendly at first, until he's revealed to be a deceptive liar. It's implied that his villainous actions are caused by dark forces. Magolor is very popular amongst fans, although no kind of substantial interactions. He's continuously shipped with Marx, Meta Knight, or Zuzi. Marxolor is the most popular of these pairings. Although frequently humanized, he's more often than not humanized into a person of color. Among his archetypes, we have One-Winged Angel, Intelligence, and Capitalist. Taransa, class safe. Taransa is a supporting character from the Kirby franchise. He made his first appearance as a secondary antagonist in Kirby Triple Deluxe as the minion to Queen Sectonia. In the game, he kidnaps King Dedede thinking he's the legendary hero. Taransa eventually goes against Queen Sectonia. He has made subsequent appearances in games like Kirby Dash Deluxe and Kirby Star Allies. It seems Taransa is decently popular within the fandom. He has been humanized with dark skin and white hair. Some of his tropes are duality, angst, and power of love. Pretty sure that's the last Kirby character, at least for now. Dr. Two Brains, class Euclid but leaning towards Catter. Dr. Two Brains is an anti-heroic character of the PBS educational cartoon Word Girl. He is a mad scientist, half mouse man with a tiny mouse brain bulging from the right side of his head. PBS educational cartoon? Okay, sure. Before turning into a mouse man, Two Brains used to be kind but easily distracted scientist Professor Steve Boxlinger. He was a close friend of Word Girl, letting him study her for his book Superheroes and You, a practical guide. He served as a mentor to her. This all came crashing down during a botched experiment to read the minds of rodents. Why would you want to read the minds of rodents? PBS educational cartoon, okay. Educating us in how to read the minds of rodents, I guess. Educating us in why not to try to read the minds of rodents. Anyways, an evil mouse named Squeaky, I'm sorry, I don't know what this show is, but it sounds so funny to me. An evil mouse named Squeaky pressed the comedically placed "How Cow Don't Press This Button" button. This made their minds fuse, creating Dr. Two Brains. Ever since the incident, his crimes all center around cheese. To quote the wiki, trust me when I say people wanted and still want to hold his hand. Amongst his archetypes, we have villain, monster features, and white hair. Where's the monster features? Mouse brain? Okay, moving on. Lady Redundant Woman. Lady Redundant Woman is a villainess from Word Girl. She's a villainess that is capable of making duplicates of herself. Her real name is Beatrice Bixby. She's first seen as a copy shop employee. She's very jealous of a manager and man called Dave, and often mutters to herself about how she wants to replace him. Beatrice gains her new identity when she presses a big mysterious red button on a copier, which fuses her with the machine, giving her the ability to replicate herself or another if she consumes a picture of the person to be copied. The only big fandom thing I can find is that many people headcanon her as a lesbian. Other than that, I can't find a lot more fan content other than a few fan arts, so if you know more, let me know. Ratburn. I think this entry refers to Nigel Ratburn from the animated show Arthur. Nigel Charles Ratburn, formerly known as Emil Ratburn, is a teacher at Lakewood Elementary School. He teaches Arthur's 3rd and 4th grade classes. Mr. Ratburn is known for being a strict teacher, but he has many other hobbies like puppetry, playing in a rock band, and bird watching. He's also seen as a role model by several students. Even though Mr. Ratburn is calm and cool, he cackles uncontrollably in the dream sequences that the other characters have involving him. Very notably, it was implied that Mr. Ratburn was gay for years. That is until in 2019, in the episode Mr. Ratburn and the Special Someone, we find out that he's definitely gay and he marries Patrick, a chocolate shop owner. How wholesome. The episode made history as it was the first gay wedding in a show aimed at a very young audience. Needless to say, this reveal gave a boost in personality to his character, and now you can find so much fan content of him and his husband Patrick. Whether he can be considered a sexy man is debatable. Stuck Chuck. Class neutralized. Stuck Chuck is the primary antagonist of the first season of Kid Cosmic, a 2021 Netflix show. Stuck Chuck is an alien soldier from the Klaxian Empire who came to Earth to retrieve 5 cosmic stones of powers from a crushed spaceship for his great leader, who he wants to impress and make proud. Kid Cosmic got there first and put together a superhero team consisting of himself, his grandpa, a neighborhood teen, a 4-year-old, and a cat. The teen, Joe, is the person who gave him the name Stuck Chuck after he got stuck halfway through the floor of Kid's trailer. He gets so attached to this name that when he calls his great leader, he identifies himself as Chuck. While he fits the archetype for being a sexy man, he never got the reputation of one. He is shipped with Papa G by most fans and they are called Papa Stock. Some of his archetypes are villain, intelligence, and monster features. Cecil, class Catter. Cecil Gershwin Palmer, also known as the voice of Night Vale, is the narrator and central character of the podcast Welcome to Night Vale. Not to be confused with Cecil Baldwin, the actor who voices Cecil Palmer. Cecil works for Nightville Community Radio and narrates the events of most Welcome to Nightville episodes in the style of a news radio broadcast. His physical description in the show is extremely vague. His double capping describes Cecil as not tall or short, not thin or fat. It is also said that he wears a tunic and furry pants. Cecil is canonically gay and in a relationship with Carlos the scientist. He's been alive for hundreds of years and it seems he is able to see everything in the town of Nightvale at all times. This is why it's assumed he is not entirely human. Also, because most citizens of Nightvale are non-human or supernatural in some way, it kinda makes sense. As I mentioned earlier, his canon appearance is vague, but we know at this point that doesn't stop anyone. The early fandom portrayed him as a tall, thin, well-dressed white man. He often had short blonde or white hair, a purple suit or tie, and a pair of purple headphones. Some versions of him had tentacle-like purple tattoos on his arm, or a glowing purple eye in the center of his forehead. I'm sure if you spent any amount of time on Tumblr back then, you saw fan art of him with this exact description in the wild. Among his archetypes, we have DILF, Power, and Gay. Dr. Habit, Class Euclid. Dr. Boris Habit is a character from the video game Smile for Me. Dr. Habit is the creator of the Habitat, a refugee for the sad to turn their frown upside down through something he calls the big event. Flower Kid, the player character, is enticing to joining due to his wonderfully put together website. Through most of the game, the real Dr. Habit isn't seen, instead using a puppet dubbed Puppet Habit or Pabbit by the fandom. He appears to be very cheery, hoping to cure the friends of the habitations. The more people Flower Kid makes happy though, the more unstable Habit becomes to the point where he begins to threaten Flower Kid as he feels he's losing control. With his cheeky personality and twisted motives, he's an underground sexy man in the indie gaming community. His archetypes are feral scientist, gay, and duality. Kid Wicked. Kid Wicked is a character from the animated show Teen Titans. He was a former student of the Hive Academy and enemy of the Teen Titans. He is one of the most mysterious characters in the show. Kid always seems to be laid back and almost emotionless, never speaking at all, although he has been heard laughing. Despite his quiet exterior, he does show bouts of expression sometimes. Kid Wicked's powers are based on his cape, with his main one being teleportation. He can also create a hole in any surface by physically touching the surface with his cape and reaching through it. Kid and Angel are often implied to be a couple in canon, and from the fanart I'm seeing, it seems that this is the main ship the fandom comes for. I do see some with Beast and Raven too. There's tons of fan content of this character, fanart, fanfiction, Tumblr blogs, etc. I can see why this character is popular for sexy people lovers. He does have a lot of the tropes. Leon von Alvensleben. Class Safe. Leon von Alvensleben is a minor antagonist in the game Katana Zero. He's a scientist with no problem committing war crimes and is depicted with shitty hair and shittier stubble. Leon is associated with a neon blue drug, which he is the creator for, and the motif often shows up in fanart along with syringes. While he's a normal human, concept art depicts Leon with stylized sharp teeth, a sexy man favorite. Leon didn't gain much attention with the fandom until roughly a month after the game's release, when the developers shared pictures of concept art of the game in the fan-run Discord server. This includes art of Leon with the aforementioned sharp teeth, a tight shirt, and a missing arm. This character seems to be more popular on Twitter than on Tumblr though. In 2020, it became a thing on Twitter to draw fan art of Leon as a priest, specifically in a priest kink kind of way. I'm not sure I want to know what that means. Some of his archetypes are mad scientist, unkept man, villain, and intelligence. Lucio. Count Lucio is a character from the visual novel The Arcana, a Mystic Romance. He's one of the 6 available love interests. Lucio used to rule Vesuvia with his wife Nadia, until he was murdered 3 years before the start of the game. Allegedly, he was burned alive in bed by fellow sexy person Julian Devorok on the night of the Masquerade, a citywide birthday celebration. Now he haunts the palace, but he's not out for revenge. His patron arcana is the devil. His birth name is actually Montag Morgeson. Good old Monty is frequently described as high-class trash by the developers. He is vain, volatile, selfish, and denies things he disagrees with in an exceptionally petulant manner. Lucio is largely obsessed with himself and expects others to love him as well. During his own route, the apprentice's empathy helps Lucio become a better person. Oh shit, he's a victim of the power of love trope. I'ma be honest, I don't know how Lucio is in this list and not Julian. Julian, I would say, is more of a sexy man in most aspects, and even has his own page in the Sexypedia. Also, he's like a better character in my opinion. I have played this thing, by the way, and I don't like Lucio. Like all the other characters in the game, Lucio obviously has a thirsty fans and plenty of content, although I don't think he's the most popular character by any means. When he's not shipped with apprentice OCs, he's mostly shipped with his wife Nadia or Julian. Ponyo's dad, class safe. Fujimoto, also known as Ponyo's dad, is the non-villainous antagonist of Studio Ghibli's film Ponyo. Fujimoto is the guardian of the sea life, along with being the husband of Grandmama Mare and father of their many daughters. Despite being a human once, he despises mankind for polluting the ocean. Hence why Fujimoto is shocked to hear that his oldest daughter wants to become a human named Ponyo, since she likes this boy named Sosuke. He obviously doesn't want this, so he spends the rest of the movie comedically trying to get Ponyo back. Fujimoto is very skinny and pale, dressed in a pinstripe blue suit with a magenta ascot. Some say he looks as if David Bowie worked at Disneyland as a Dapper Dan. I also want to mention that the creator of this Sexypedia page dedicated it to Tumblr Anon, who said, "I was really into Ponyo's dad when I was 14, I don't know, man." Pretty sure you're not alone, my friend. I've recently seen people thirsting over him in the wild. His archetypes are Suit Guy, Feral Scientist, and Delph, among others. Chris McLean, class Catter. Chris McLean is the host of the cartoon Total Drama. Chris is based on the real host of Survivor, Jeff Probst, though he bears little physical resemblance to him. His challenges are often highly dangerous, and it doesn't help that he often disregards safety measures, either due to the lack of budget or to increase ratings. He is known both inside and outside the fandom for his antics, lack of care for others, gatekeeping, and memorable catchphrases. Fanwork usually portrays him as a complete unapologetic villain or an asshole with a heart of gold. There's no in between. Chris is mostly shipped with Chef, and you will find a lot of sexy content out them online. Among his archetypes, we have Chaos Lord, Distinctive Voice, and Capitalist. Max, class Tomiel/Safe. Max is its stellar protagonist in the Sam and Max franchise. He's often described as a hyperkinetic rabbit. Max is one half of the Freeland Police, but cares less about crime fighting and more about the thrill of enacting random violence while making sarcastic remarks. He's a menace to society and a war criminal. Although the franchise has existed since the 80s, the Sam and Max fandom has had more of a recent resurgence, bringing forth his sexy man status within the fandom. Max is canonically gay and married to Sam in the animated series. There were always recurring lines through the franchise about him not liking girls. His sexuality was confirmed by creator Steve Purcell. Fans tend to create humanized fan designs, making Max a pasty twink, and well, he's a white rabbit, so they obviously give him white hair. Some of his tropes are eldritch, father figure, and power. Kravitz. Kravitz is a character from the Crystal Kingdom arc of the Adventure Zone. At first, he serves as an antagonist pursuing the main character, but later Kravitz becomes the love interest of Taco. There isn't much canon information about him, but he's one of the most popular characters in the Adventure Zone, which means there's a lot of headcanons and fan content of him. A few of the canon things I can tell you as context as to why he's on this chart is that he has an accent, he can shift from handsome man to a skeletal reaper at his own whim, and he has a smug persona. Kravitz likes to be intimidating. As mentioned before, he's in a relationship with Taco, which means he's yet another victim of the power of love trope. Kravitz turns from wanting to hunt down the main character to falling in love with one of them. Kravitz turns from wanting to hunt down the main characters to falling in love with one of them. Among his archetypes, there's skeleton, gay, and dominating. Yzma. Yzma is the main antagonist of the animated feature film The Emperor's New Groove. She's an evil sorceress and the former advisor to Emperor Cusco. After being fired from her position, Yzma becomes obsessed with killing the Emperor and usurping his throne as an empress. She makes numerous attempts to do this with the aid of her assistant Kronk and an arsenal of potions. Yzma is malicious, funny, silly, and power-hungry. Okay, so I guess Yzma does fit some of the tropes because she's a purple villain, but is she a sexy woman? She's a fan favorite and a meme icon, but I don't know if I would consider her a sexy woman. Like, sure, there's a ton of fan content about her, but The Emperor's New Groove is a cult classic. One of the best Disney films in my opinion. I will say that there is some fan art out there that makes Yzma a lot more conventionally attractive than canon, so I guess it's debatable. Wuya. Wuya is one of the main antagonists of the animated show Shaolin Showdown. Wuya was an evil healing witch, and she was defeated in the first Shaolin Showdown by the legendary Grandmaster Dashi and trapped in a wooden puzzle box. Many years later, she was released by Jack Spicer. She usually works with a partner, often Jack, to collect Shen Gong Wu and take over the world once again. She had the power to sense the Shen Gong Wu. Since she was a ghost during most of her life, she needed a person to collect them for her. Wuya was very ruthless, cruel, and cunning, someone who would stop at nothing to achieve her goals of world domination and would ally herself with anyone to do so. There's tons of sexy fan art of human Wuya out there, like so much, oh my god. Red White, class safe. Red White is a minor antagonist in the Ace Attorney series, appearing only in one trial, Turnabout Sisters. Red was the CEO of the information gathering company Bluecore, which she used to find dirt on people and blackmail them. Mia Fey had been gathering information on this for years, and after Red found out about this, he murdered her and got rid of the evidence Mia had gathered on him. The player knows that he's the culprit from the beginning, as his face is shown in the image depicting the murder, and due to this, he's already disliked. As I mentioned before, he was only in one trial in the series, so he doesn't have a huge fan base like other sexy people on this chart. Some Ace Attorney fans though have expressed attraction towards him, and he also has sexy man energy. The internet tends to find villains hot, as we have learned. Can I just mention here that he claims that his friends call him Blanco Niño, which means white boy? But like, that's bad Spanish. It's Niño Blanco. Noun comes before adjective in Spanish. There, you learned something useful today if you don't already know Spanish. Anyway, some of his archetypes are villain, capitalist, and Tsugai. Mephistopheles. Mephistopheles, also known as Samael, is a character from the anime Blue Exorcist. He's an exorcist and the second strongest of the 8 demon kings. He holds the title the King of Time. He uses the name Johann Faust V in public and is the principal of True Cross Academy. Mephisto is very mysterious and has an innate ability to act as if he shows more than what he's letting on. He is careful and meticulous, always ahead of the game. He enjoys chaos and apparently loves humans. He's prone to eccentric moments nestled between serious ones, making light of Heaven Moon, and is portrayed as a man with more money than sense, but is very cheap when spending on others. He has a frequent tendency of breaking the fourth wall by directly speaking to the reader in the manga. Combining that with his dark purple hair and elegant white outfit complete with a top hat, it's no doubt that he has many of the sexy man tropes. There's countless ass blogs, dedicated blogs, and fan content in general regarding this character, and it seems that the most popular ship that includes him is with Amaimon. Jesus freaking Christ. Michael. Class neutralized. Michael is one of the main antagonists of the NBC sitcom The Good Place. He's a temporary antagonist turned good guy. Michael is presented as the architect of the neighborhood where the show is set at first, this neighborhood being in The Good Place, the show's version of heaven. Spoiler alert, he's no architect, he's actually a demon from the bad place, aka hell, and this neighborhood is his own new version of torture. Eventually, he starts working with the humans in order to get them to the real good place. Despite looking human, Michael is actually, let me quote him, a 6,000-foot tall fire squid. I have tentacles, there's teeth everywhere, I'm on fire and my neck is long, and there's a smell and lots of juices. There's so much juice. Guys, who did this? Why are thirsting over Michael? Oh my god, there's so much fan art. Why did I not know about this? I follow the Good Place tag on Tumblr. I don't even understand. His archetypes include Dilf, White, and Duality. Sally Face. Sal Fisher, also known as Sally Face, is the titular main character of the game Sally Face. When he was a child, he had a tragic accident that resulted in the death of his mother and left his face severely scarred, requiring him to wear a prosthetic face. Years after the accident, Sal and his dad moved to the town of Knoxfield for a fresh start to the Addison apartments. The game centers around several events throughout Sal's life. with tons of jumps in time focusing on his investigation into the many mysteries in his new home. Cell is an adventurous boy and just a sweetheart. Why is he on this chart? Like, for real, I don't understand. If I squint, I guess I see a couple of strobes, but like, not really. And as you can probably tell by the speed paint, if I end up remembering to use the smiley face one. I love this game. I actually have a playthrough of it in my gaming channel. I think this character is the one I'll oppose the most for being in this chart. I don't know. There's tons of good fan art out there of him though, I will say that. Will, class safe. Will is a character from the Pokemon video games featured in the 2nd gen games and Masters and the Pokemon Adventures manga. He's a member of the Indigo's League's Elite Four. Because Will has no more than 3 to 10 minutes of screen time combined in Gen 2 games, his personality was unknown until Pokemon Masters. Combined with his appearance, many assume him to be a shady villain. Will has psychic powers, and it's implied that most of what he does is limited to messing with people's head. In the manga, Will is a member of Team Rocket and overall kind of a dick. In Masters though, he's friendly and sweet. Despite being an incredibly obscure character for most of the Pokemon franchise history, after the release of Pokemon Masters in 2019, he became slightly more popular. Some of his archetypes are Clown, Eye Imagery, and Peltwink. Mr. L, class safe/neutralized. Mr. L, also known as the Green Thunder, is yet another antagonist from Super Paper Mario. Brainwashed by the assistant of Count Black, Mr. L, who resembles Luigi, joins the antagonist to oppose Mario. To quote the Sexypedia, think Papyrus, but he's a bad guy. Mr. L's true identity has never been revealed and remains one of history's greatest mysteries. Except it's not. He's Luigi. Mr. L is clearly Luigi. It's implied through the game a few times and we see Luigi get attacked. He does kind of remind me of Papyrus in this day with how cocky he is, always praising himself. The Super Smash Bros. Wii U trophy says he calls himself the Green Thunder, but Mr. L's true identity is a mystery forever concealed beneath his stylish green hat. Blah 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 blah. Coincidentally, for the whole of Mr. L's reign of terror, Luigi is nowhere to be seen. How odd. So yeah, Luigi's a sexy man apparently. Someone should edit the Sexypedia article cause it's really hard to understand. It also lists his species as Plumber, which is hilarious. Don't change that please. Also the comments are kind of thirsty, so I guess people are thirsty for Mr. L. His archetypes are Duality, Dominating, Power, Theme Song, and Well Dressed. Judgment Boy, class safe. Judgment Boy is a recurring character in the 3D animated horror anthology series Gregory Horror Show. Judgment Boy is an anthropomorphized set of skills with an extremely strong sense of justice. He was originally a human player who entered the Gregory house to figure out what justice and truth really meant. Deliberating too hard, he turned into his current form and concluded he himself was justice and truth. There are multiple Judgment Boys, produced in a factory overseen by Judgment Boy Gold, all based on the original. In both the anime and video game adaptation, he's shown to be aware of the media he's in and speaks directly to the audience or player. I'm surprised this is not mentioned in the Sexypedia, but there is quite a bit of human fan art of him, and I don't mean like before when he was human, I mean a man's with the aesthetic, scales and all. A few of his archetypes are fourth wall blurring, burden aesthetic, eldritch, and non-human. So Hiyori, class Euclid. So Hiyori is a character in the RPG Maker game Your Turn to Die. Another game on my need to playlist. Your Turn to Die is about a deadly game where the participants choose who dies. His real name is Shin Tsukimi. He was kidnapped to participate in the death game where he was told he was the only participant calculated to have a 0.0% survival rating. Same dude, same. He decides then to introduce himself to the other participants as So Hiyori and attempt to be aloof. He stole his name from a friend from high school with which is implied he had a very abusive relationship with. Gotta say, it's hilarious that in the Sexypedia it says he's dressed exactly like SpongeBob when he had the suds. Because of the source material, some people just think he's Green Comoera. Have I mentioned Comoera yet in this video? Probably. Always have to mention him somewhere. Only a portion of the fandom sexualizes him, but everyone else in it is very aware of that portion. Some of his archetypes are angst, duality, and unkept man. The Binary Bard. The Binary Bard, also known as Mordred, is a villain from the video game Pop Tropica. Mordred is a Pop Tropica creator. He is based on the enemy and son/nephew of King Arthur in Arthurian legend. Mordred was very creative and innovative, and he believed anything was possible. He's also a genius apparently. He believes he was the most ruthless villain in Pop Tropica and tried proving it by exaggerating his plots to make them seem more evil. He has a few key characteristics to sexy mandom, like looking like a cyber jester, a bionic eye, and a yellow and purple outfit. The Binary Bard was voted as the favorite Pop Tropica villain in a contest on the creator's blog and ranked first of all villains during the 2011 villain contest. So he seems to be pretty popular in the fandom. There are a few Sexyman fan art there depicting him with anime style. Rex Dangervest, Class Euclid. Rex Dangervest is a character from the Lego Movie 2, the second part. Rex was a galaxy defender, archaeologist, cowboy, and raptor trainer, who appeared to be a benevolent ally, but is later revealed to be an antagonist counterpart of Emmett Brikowski from the future. His true intention was to bring Armageddon upon all his kind as revenge for being abandoned and forgotten. Despite being a plastic little man, he gained popularity and infamy within the Lego Movie fandom for being a sexy, evil hunk of plastic. Yeah. Rex Dangervest was created to be a parody of all of Chris Pratt's other roles, if that isn't obvious enough. Among his archetypes, we have fourth wall blurring, power, and bait. Pinky Swabo. Pinky Swabo is an alternative version of Pinky from the animated show Pinky and the Brain. The Brain creates a machine that has the purpose of giving a good personality and appearance to anyone who uses it. Brain obviously wants it to take over the world, but when Brain enters the machine, Pinky hears him scream and goes to help him get out. Pinky gets trapped inside. When Pinky gets out of the machine, he changes his name to Pinky Swabo. He's elegant with a purple suit and a lovely mustache. Pinky is now handsome and charismatic. What I did not mention previously is that Pinky Swabo is actually a forbidden character in the Sexypedia. Why? Well, let me read you what they have to say. Is there an argument for him to be a sexy man? Yes. We reached that conclusion on our own after some research. However, since the response of his fans was not actually to give evidence and help us out, but rather to vandalize pages and spam the comment section of this game to try to force us to give him a page, he stays here as a lesson. Don't resort to vandalism and trolling to get your way, or else your sexy man will end up here. Here being the forbidden page, I should have mentioned that there's like a page in the Sexypedia of all the forbidden characters and Pinky Swabo is in it. Anyways, don't vandalize the page. This is what happens when you vandalize. A character goes into the forbidden list. Outside of the Sexypedia, he's a sexy man though, with tons of fan content. There's a lot more fan art of him than I thought, and yes, people do ship Pinky Swabo with the Brain. I know you were all dying to know that. Habit. Habit is one of the main antagonists in the YouTube ARG horror series Everyman Hybrid. He is also a major antagonist in the Slenderverse. He's an entity responsible for the caches and letters containing the Corinthal papers, as well as some of the unsigned tweets and the 7 Trials of Habit tournament. Habit types in all caps and tends to end his messages with yours or regards. It is not known whether Habit has a true corporeal form. It's been speculated that he's a demon, a monster, a ghost, or some other kind of possessing force. There also seems to be a link in between Habit and his host Evan. Habit's ultimate goals are always sadistic and cruel, however, he sometimes acts as if there's one ultimate goal to everything he does. Whatever it is, it's never revealed. Habit enjoys torturing and belittling people, thinking they are below him and helpless. He's also sometimes seen as a coward since he rarely confronts people with equal or strong power than him, such as Slenderman. His sense of humor reminds people of Beetlejuice and the Joker. He also uses purple tape as his calling card. Actually, it's speculated that purple is his favorite color. Naturally, as purple is a sexy man trope, you'll see it heavily featured in fan content. Chantal Dubois. Captain Chantal Shannon Dubois is the main antagonist of Madagascar 3, Europe's Most Wanted. She's a cold, calculating woman, staunch in her ways, having no sense of mercy for her quarry when assigned to catch an animal. Dubois was not without her pride as she kept trophies of her successful assignments. She was also strict to her men but cared about their conditions so they could aid her in her hunts. Other than that, she cared little of humans or animals in general, having no regard for the law. I'm gonna quote Tumblr user the human. The HMN. The human? Whatever. Captain Chantal Dubois is by far the best thing to come out of the Madagascar series. She's like a Terminator with a mom bod, and I was cracking up every single time she showed up because so overpowered. There's not a lot of fan content of her from what I can see, but there is a pony version of her and fan art of her with the blue spire from TF2. I'll put the fan art up if I can. So yeah, not as popular as other sexy women, but Deb has her own little fan base. Scarlet Overkill, class Thomiel. Scarlet Overkill is the main antagonist of the Minions movie. Scarlet is the world's first and most successful female supervillain. She takes pride in this as it gives her adoring fans and admirers, which lead her to seeking henchmen at VillainCon. This is where she meets the Minions. I never thought I would talk about Minions in a serious way. What is my life? She has the Minions do her dirty work by sending them to steal the British crown in order to usurp the Queen of England. We can say Scarlet Overkill is the definition of gaslight gatekeep girl boss. Apparently Scarlet used to be a poor, unloved orphan, so that is her angsty backstory. Her husband kinda looks like the Onceler. She's super intelligent and will attack anyone that defies her. There's a ton of fan art of her and her Beatles looking Onceler husband, so I guess that a lot of her fandom revolves around the ship. Some of her archetypes are white, well-dressed, and villain. Funeral of the Dead Butterflies, class safe. Funeral of the Dead Butterflies, who I'm going to refer to as Butterfly Man because God is that a long name, is an HE risk level abnormality in the game Lobotomy Corporation. Butterfly Man is often obtained mid-game and is somewhat frail medium risk abnormality. It is infamous for escaping a lot due to the Qliphotht counter going down if an agent with high fortitude comes into its chambers. In the sequel, Library of Arena, it's found on the 3rd floor of the library. Butterfly Man represents the fear of death. It's a humanoid but not human. An SCP-type creature, if you will. Not much is known about it, but it's said that it arrived at the facility on its own. Despite not having clear morals, it's still a force against the player and their agents. A small portion of the fan base, mostly on Tumblr and Twitter, apparently loves to sexualize it and often ship it with another abnormality named their face shoots. In fanart, Butterfly Man is sometimes depicted as a humanized white twink. Some of its archetypes are non-human, white twink humanization, and suit guy. Green Mage, class Thomiel. Green Mage, also known as Green, is one of the primary antagonists from the video game Everhood. They are an aloof, mischievous mage who seeks having fun over other endeavors. They enjoy playing Medallion as a pastime. Green Mage likes fighting for fun. Apparently people have joked about Green Mage being a sexy person, but the fanbase is so small it never actually happened. Their archetypes include Chaos Lore, monster features, and eye imagery, amongst others. And that's our last sexy person for today. We're almost done, guys. 2 more tiers to go. Going to start working on those as soon as this video is done because wow, it took so long to research this one. October was super busy for me with commissions, other work, and just life in general. Remember that if there's sexy people you don't see in the chart, to tell me about it in the comments so I can hopefully make a bonus sexy video. That sounds weird. Not that kind of sexy. I'll leave it short and sweet this time because I'm tired. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it, and if you're new, make sure you subscribe. I can't even tell you what I do videos on these days because I don't even know, but sometimes they're mostly art and internet related, so hang out with us if you want. If you have any suggestions for topics, you can leave them here or on any social media I have on the description, so be sure to check those out for that and updates about videos and art stuff. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my patrons who somehow stick around even with the lack of content these past few months. Yeah, see you next time. Have a good day, good night, and good fight. Bye!